All right. Hello, Hoya fans, students, alumni, parents, supporters. I am Naomi Myberger. I am an assistant coach with the Hoyas, and I am happy to be your moderator for this evening as we move through the program. So it's my privilege to introduce to you our two speakers that are going to be with us tonight. The first being head coach Dave Nolan. He is entering, I believe, his 17th season with the Hoyas as the head coach. And during that time, he has taken the program to two NCAA tournament Final Fours, and in 2016 and 2018, as well as three Big East tournament championships, a three-peat from 16 to 18. So he's going to talk about the program, the players, what we're doing right now. He's going to give you guys an update on where things are at. And our other speaker tonight is going to be a player who is instrumental in some of the history of our program and the success that we had early on. Alexandra Hardy is joining us from California, where she lives with her beautiful family. She is currently a psychologist in private practice, doing a lot of work right now in counseling out there, and I believe has a new Hoya joining us in October as well. So thank you, Alexandra, for taking the time to be with us tonight during your busy schedule. At this point, I'm going to hand the reins over to Coach Nolan, who's going to provide an update on the program. And once he's finished, he will pass the baton to Alexandra.
Hello, everybody. Really appreciate you guys taking the time out to check in with us. And, you know, our hope is to this evening is to engage with you guys and just to give you guys a sense of kind of what's going on with the program right now. Obviously, we're in unprecedented, uncharted waters. I just thought I had finished my book, and now all of a sudden there's a new chapter in how to deal with a pandemic, and it's adding more work to my task. So our hope is really just to give you guys a good idea of what's going on with the program, share some stories, reconnect with one of our most famous alums, with Ali Hardy, and open up to some questions as well for people that kind of may have some specific questions about what's going on. So I think the first thing and the most pressing thing is kind of, well, what are we doing right now? And for those that may not be aware, the current situation is shaped primarily by obviously health concerns and also by the direction we must follow from the NCAA. And the NCAA has decided this year to move our national tournament from the fall to the spring. And with that, then the Big East followed suit, moving our Big East season from the fall to the spring. With the current health situation, the university, in its wisdom, has decided that we need to keep our athletes away from campus, and we need to keep our students away from campus. So technically right now, following the guidelines of the District of Columbia and also our own medical experts, it was decided that it wasn't really in the best interest of any of our students to bring them back to campus right now, barring a small select group who really are there as essential students. So what does that mean with us for soccer? It's been a challenge. It's been hard because if you've been following the news lately, there's been a lot of U-turns from certain conferences about college sports. And essentially, as it's boiled down to right now, of the 31 conferences in the country, there were 4, and now there are 5. One has since done a U-turn. The Big Ten has done a U-turn about trying to put together a fall sports season for the fall sports. But the rest of us are not playing competitively. So the challenge for us as a coaching staff has been, one, how to keep our girls looking forward, how to keep them in a good frame of mind, because as you can imagine, these kids go by a dual term of student athlete. and any student will still be, following their class schedule, even if it's in a virtual setting. So they still have that structure in their life of virtual learning and all that goes with that. But it's very challenging for an athlete who trains all their life and who, has been working hard for us, certainly over the spring and the summer, to get ready for a fall season that really just hasn't happened right yet. And our job as coaches is to try and keep these guys motivated, keep them looking forward. As you can imagine, I see a lot of parents on this call now. For some of these guys, this is like the first, significant, life crisis they've had to face. And Ali could probably help me with some of this as well. So it's all new to them. And what we've been trying to do is really just keep them looking forward. We're trying to get them engaged in their schoolwork. We're getting them to focus on that and try and take care of the things they can control. And the academic side is something that they can. And the athletic piece is a little bit more challenging, because any athletes or anyone that's played a team sport can certainly understand it's a lot easier to work hard when you're surrounded by teammates and you're working with a group. And that has been something that we're constantly trying to find ways to energize these guys and get them to understand that everything we do now will help us when we do start back in the spring. And I'm not going to lie, it hasn't been easy. The course of the summer, it was such a period of uncertainty. We weren't really sure what was going on. We weren't really sure as athletes, how should we train if we're trying to taper our training for a certain point in time. But I think we made a decision at a good point in time where it was disappointing news to take, but it allowed us to accept it and kind of get ready then for what the next step was. So over the course of the summer, we pretty much decided to try and give the girls as much, time to get their head around everything. We would check in with them on a weekly basis and on an individual basis. Also, we had brought in numerous panels of alumni to talk to the kids, primarily aimed more on a career focus. So we had brought in some alums who were doctors. We had them talk about their experiences, about their journey to becoming doctors. We had some nurse practitioners on the call as well. Ashley Darcy was fantastic with us, and she jumped on with that too. And we went along a similar path each week where we would deal with some of our business people. We brought on some girls who in law school currently, graduated from law school, who are now clerking and so forth. We had some fantastic, it was a great way also to catch up with some wonderful alums. So over the course of the summer, we spent a lot of time focusing more on, hey, keep our eyes forward, looking at what the big picture is, which is life beyond Georgetown. And these Zoom panels were very useful with that. We kind of took our foot off the gas athletically. We encouraged the kids to just, cross train and do some things just to stay active. But we had realized that we weren't going to be playing in the fall, and I didn't see the point in pushing them to, be at peak fitness for a season that wasn't really going to happen. But now that we're back in school, we're kind of in stage 2. Again, our classes and our learning is online. And I think in some ways the kids are happy to be back with that. I think they're happy to have that structure in their life again. So now we have started as a coaching staff is just to try and gradually wean soccer and soccer ideas back into their mind. And hopefully we'll be able to keep them mentally fresh. We'll be able to physically challenge them in interesting ways. The hardest part has been trying to find soccer for them because that's something that they enjoy doing. So we've got girls all over the country. We've got girls on the West Coast. We've got one girl in New Zealand. We've got some kids local. So it's been a little bit of a mishmash. A couple of our girls are training with the Washington Spirit right now. A couple of our freshmen are back training with their club teams, which is a godsend for them. And some of the older girls, we're just trying to find ways to keep them kind of doing as much as they can soccer-wise to be ready. But the most important thing, honestly, as you will know and the parents will know, is we're trying to keep them busy so that they're looking forward. I feel if we give them too much time, it's very easy to get caught up in, you know, the dark times that we're in right now. And it's easy to kind of lose a little bit of hope. So we'll do as much as we can without taking too much time from them to try and keep them forward. And me being me, I'll be silly and try and make them laugh and try, you know, keep the mood light. And we had a good chat last night with our group as well. And I think they're starting to kind of look at it now that, hey, you know, we're towards the middle end of September. It won't be long now till hopefully we'll be back on campus in January. The second part of that, sorry, I missed the cue. What's new, say you? The second part of that is, what is the spring going to look like? Currently, we're working with the Big East on getting a Big East schedule. Had a Big East meeting today. It looks like we're going to be starting Big East conference games around the 10th of March. We have a Big East schedule of 10 Big East games. And now it's just a matter of also maybe picking up, it wouldn't be our usual 8 or 9 non-conference games before that. But I probably feel we'd be looking to pick up maybe about 4 non-conference games in February, weather cooperating. And the whole plan for soccer is to have our conference tournament the 16th, 17th of April, and with the NCAA tournament starting the following week. And hopefully we will have done enough, whether by winning the conference tournament or putting ourselves in position where we would be an at-large, where we would be making our 9th consecutive appearance in the NCAA tournament, or 10th in the last 11 years. So that's kind of the goal for the spring. Obviously, it's all new to be playing competitively in the spring. We'll be hoping for the weather to cooperate. But I think the kids need it. I think they know they need to have a season. And, you know, we're hoping, just like everyone else, that we can put this COVID situation certainly in our rear mirror at the least. And we can start looking forward and hopefully getting things back to normal as soon as possible. And then the next thing I really wanted to chat about was, how's the team going to be? And obviously my answer is I couldn't tell you. We haven't really done anything yet. I know we have a super excited freshman group that couldn't wait to get here, still can't wait to get here. And we've got some talent in that group, but we've got some good returning players as well. And, you know, as long as we can have some time to work together as a group in January and early February, I predict we'll be in a situation where we'll be challenging for another conference tournament. And like I say, hopefully going back to the NCAA tournament, which is the real fun. The big dance is where it's at. So we like to put our dancing shoes on. I think the only other thing, because we don't have any soccer going on right now, one of the things, if you've been following us on our social media, we've been highlighting some of our former players who actually are playing soccer right now. Mixture of kids who are playing in Europe and also playing here in the NWSL. So those that are looking to see these guys play, you'd be shocked at how many of their games are being streamed on various legal and illegal websites. So I think we've got 6 or 7 girls playing. Rachel, obviously those will remember, was a fantastic player for us who graduated in 2018. She's currently playing in a town for a club called Stade de Rennes, which is about an hour north of Paris. And she loves baguettes, so she loves life in Paris. I think next one, Paula. Paula's playing in Iceland right now. She's just trying to work with her team to try to get them help promoted into the top flight, and they're well on course for doing that. Anyone that has seen Paula play knows right now there's a bunch of terrified Vikings in Iceland, because you don't mess with Paula. And she's really enjoying it. She's enjoying the experience. I talk to her probably every week. She sends me some incredible photographs and some incredible video of the sites that they're seeing. But she's liking Iceland, and she's looking to continue to play before she heads off to medical school in maybe another 2 or 3 years. Our next one up is Meaghan. Meaghan was drafted by the Portland Thorns, one of our more recent grads. Maybe one of our most successful, certainly one of our greatest success stories. Meaghan actually just went on loan to Germany to a club called Turbine Potsdam, which is a fantastic club, one of the top teams in Germany. It's about 40 minutes outside Berlin. So she just got there on Monday. She sent me a text today. She's settling in pretty well. It's also a club that Ingrid Wells used to play with when Ingrid first went overseas. So Meaghan just loves to play soccer. So if there was soccer on the moon, Meaghan would be on the moon. So she's having a good experience in Germany right now. Next one up is Kyra. Interestingly enough, Kyra is currently with the Irish team. I managed to help her secure Irish citizenship. No, I didn't find her a husband or anything. She actually had a grandfather who was born in Ireland, and we managed to get her in for a camp, and she did really well. And on Saturday, Ireland have a big game against Germany that hopefully she'll be starting in. But after a year in France last year, she's currently playing in Denmark. The great thing is I'm able to see most of her games most Saturdays. And again, she's just having a wonderful experience over there in Denmark. It's something that we encourage all the kids to do who love to play, is go overseas and travel and see a little bit of the world and learn a lot about yourselves and have these wonderful life experiences before they move on to the next step in life. But Kyra was a special one for us. Daphne, many of you would remember. Michael, I know you're always a big fan of Daphne. Wonderful player for us. Is currently playing in France with her second club. She's playing for Paris FC. Her and Rachel both played on the same team last year in Paris, and this year they both moved on to different teams. After 5 years of putting off medical school, Daphne finally realized that football is her first love. So she's going to have to revisit medical school maybe when she's 50. Our next one up is Crystal. Crystal is probably our globetrotter. She's currently with the Washington Spirit. She's been carrying an injury for a couple of months now, which has made it hard for her to make a dent with them. But Crystal is lucky. She's played in Norway. She's also played in Iceland. She's played in Australia. And Crystal's another one that will play soccer as long as she can. So it wouldn't shock me if when her involvement with the Spirit at the end of this season finishes up, that she'd be looking maybe to go back to Europe and play. So that's the 6 girls. Again, if anyone's interested in trying to find links to watch them play, certainly reach out to an email to me, and I'll kind of get you those links if you're trying to get your soccer fix at the weekend. So that was kind of it for me right now, but I do want to, pass on now to maybe one of my top favorite players in my 22 years at Georgetown, in Ali Hardy. I've got wonderful stories to share, but I was told that I couldn't share them. So that's just going to have to be secrets between me and Ali. and the Georgetown voice and the Hoya. So, Ali, if you want to tell us a little bit about what you're up to and share some of your memories.
Sure. Yeah, it's awesome to hear some of the updates going on with the program. I'm currently a clinical psychologist. We were based in North Carolina, but we just relocated back to California right in time for fires and all kinds of unprecedented things. So we are adapting and adjusting, but California is home for me, so it's good to be back. I was asked to share some memories about my time at Georgetown, and probably some of my favorite ones are kind of bookends of my time. So the first being introduced to my long-term roommate who's on the call, Ashley Darcy Mahoney. I still want to call you Darcy and not by your married name.
Oh my God, thanks for the shout out.
Oh, of course, all day. And I think what I enjoyed most about my time at Georgetown is the relationships. And so being able to see each other through our time in college and also post-college with kids and husbands and life and even careers, I think it's amazing as well. In terms of soccer memories, I tore my ACL right before I started at Georgetown, which for me was like earth-shattering thing of the time. Like, what am I going to do without being able to play? But it afforded an opportunity for me to be able to see the game in a new way. And so one of our first games was with Notre Dame. And at that time, Georgetown, we didn't compete with Notre Dame. It was a huge thing. They had come to the Hilltop to play us. And I remember as I was filming, that was my role. We just kept scoring. Jesse Beers-Altman just kept scoring goal after goal after goal. And we won that game. And if you ever see the film, you're going to see it shaking and it's going crazy because it was such a big victory for us. So at that time, being able to make it to the Big East tournament was a big success for us. I think I bought my cleats. I think we also bought our own sweatsuits at the time. So we were really trying to just change the program and wanted to make some history, which I loved about my time. I think when I would tell people I'm going to Georgetown to play soccer, they're like, okay, they got a soccer team? Cool, that sounds good. And so now, especially living in North Carolina, being so close to UNC, when I would tell folks, oh yeah, I went to Georgetown, it was like, oh my gosh, this is a top tier program, and seeing the level of respect and the direction the program has gone has been so cool to see. I also remember when I came on, Dave was an assistant coach, and I remember the assistant athletic director at the time interviewed all the captains to say, what do you think about Dave becoming the head coach? And I remember feeling really strongly that he would do a phenomenal job, but not even having the foresight to be able to see where the program is now. And so to started with him recruiting me, I think back at Surf Cup in San Diego, and then now to just really taking the program to where it is now and seeing even the alums who are in the pros has just been a phenomenal thing to see. I'd say probably my next best memory would be I ended up being able to redshirt in my first year, and then I ended up being able to start graduate school for a year. And part of that, I like to say I was the first grad student player. So I like to say that I started that trend at Georgetown. But I also got to travel to Europe. And so I didn't want to let go. I just wanted to stay and play. And by that time, I understood what a privilege it was to be able to play, and was really enjoyed just being able to travel across Europe. And I think that was another one of my very favorite experiences at Georgetown as well. Had the opportunity, and if you want, you can put up the slides now with some pictures. So this is, some pictures from when we were playing. I'm number 21, right next to Ashley. I'm number 6, and Shara, my roommate number 3 as well. This picture definitely takes me back, and you can see how skillful I look in the action photo there as well. So this picture is definitely when I was playing. If you go on to the next slide, just a few more images that show kind of the connection and I think the sisterhood within the Georgetown family. So on the right-hand side, the bottom right, we were in San Jose for the College Cup. And there was no way we were going to miss it. So I think myself and Chrissy, we drove like 8 hours to be able to come and watch the Hoyas play. I still think you could have won and should have won that game. But another highlight was also just seeing the facilities workers there and the fact that Georgetown invested in them being able to be present, because I remember just their commitment to making sure our fields were great and making sure that we felt safe and warm and welcomed at Georgetown. That was another fun experience. The picture just above, that's from North Carolina. So that's either last year or the year before.
2018.
2018 College Cup. So at the time I was living like 15 minutes away. So some alums came and stayed with me and we got to watch that game as well. So that was really cool. And then the larger photo is the larger reunion. And how many years was that, Dave, at that point?
It was to celebrate 25 years of the program.
Yeah, so those are just a pretty good handful of some of the women who I got the chance to play with and learn with over my time at Georgetown as well. So I think, yeah, my memories are definitely field related, but outside of that, I mean, just having the sisterhood and the connection that goes far beyond the time at Georgetown has been a great privilege as well. So that's also in San Francisco. We were at the College Cup, so we went to the Golden Gate Bridge and again at the reunion with these 3 as well. So those are some of my favorite memories. I'm trying to make sure I stay on script for what I'm supposed to be talking about. Let's see. Yeah, I think at this point, can we go back to Nay? Oh, yeah. Am I doing it okay?
Yeah, you're fantastic, Allie. I think that was great.
Better than ever, Ali. Better than ever.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Allie, Dr. Lucamelli has a question for you.
Uh-oh. We're in uncharted waters here.
Yeah, we are moving into the Q&A portion of our program tonight. So if you have questions, you can go ahead and send them to me directly in the chat, and I'll make sure to include them. We have a few scripted questions we want to make sure we touch on, but we do want this to be interactive with folks. So if you have questions, please do send them over. I know, Dave, this first question is kind of for you. I know you touched on what we're doing with the student athletes and the players right now. One of the things was trying to keep them busy, keep them looking forward, keeping them focused. Was there anything else you wanted to add in regards to mental health that we're working on with the student athletes?
No, just that it's, you know, it's all uncharted waters for us. And, you know, the type of students we have here, they're so driven and so used to just, you know, motoring on full speed ahead, and all of a sudden we're kind of in muggy. We've been bogged down. So, you know, we're using all the resources we have at the university. We have a full-time mental health specialist in the athletic department that just works with athletes, and she's been helping us doing some sessions. As coaches, again, we try and keep our sessions light. We try and have fun. We try and do some different challenges each week. And then we just try and give them opportunities to speak. We'll do a lot of work where we'll break them into smaller groups, which gives them an opportunity just to talk amongst themselves. And I think that's very important as well. But really, the most important thing is we just got to keep them looking forward, and that's our goal as a staff, is just to keep them looking forward whenever they may feel a little bit kind of they're treading water. We just try and keep them looking forward.
Okay, that's great. As we talk about looking forward and looking forward to the spring, I know there are one question from Reed was any specific thoughts about this incoming class in regards to, I guess, your thoughts in general on the incomers. I think people are curious about who we have coming in, what they might be contributing. I know we are going to have a social media push going out to further detail that.
Yeah, it's if you follow us on social media, you know, we try and release something at least every second day, so people can understand what we're up to individually and as a team, what our alums are up to. And one of the things we're going to be rolling out this week, now that we're kind of back on camp, or we're back kind of with classes started, is some introduction into our freshmen. You know, I feel so bad in so many ways for our freshmen, because for these kids, not only was the end of their high school kind of career, you know, messed up in terms of their high school graduation, for prom, for those of them that could get dates. It was a tough blow. And then all of a sudden, you know, the next most exciting thing for them is to head to college, which is they've been working so hard to, and then that rug is pulled out from under their feet. So this group will probably be the most resilient group that we've had, because what they've had to deal with. But we've got some very talented players, and it's just a matter of not only can they adjust to the college game, and there is an adjustment factor to that, but it's also who can deal with the circumstances that we're in, and who can just get on with it. So it's going to be very interesting when we get back on the field. One, who's done everything possible, not just the freshmen, to give themselves a chance to be successful, and when we do start up in the spring. One of the things we're still hoping to do is, if possible, try and arrange like a mini camp for a couple of weeks, maybe in October or November, if things improve medically here on campus. Right now, it's something that we're hoping we can do, and again, a lot of the things that will shape that are out of our control, but it's something that we would look for, and if we can do that, that would really help us as we get ready for the spring. But you know, I'm excited just to get going again with them, but I'm just excited for them so they can get back around each other and enjoy each other's company, so that, you know, they can start to see good times ahead, and that's what we're hoping for.
Okay, great. I saw that Ashley had a specific question for Allie, if you saw it in the chat, if that was something you were able to address. I don't know if you have any guidance or thoughts on being a former student athlete, and your profession obviously relates directly to mental health and wellness.
Sure. I mean, I would echo a lot of what Dave's already said, just in terms of, I think, some of the grief that comes along with the loss of a typical season, and the uncertainty, but also the emphasis on focusing on what we can control. I do a lot of work. I think there was another question on what kind of psychology am I practicing? And I do a lot of work with trauma. And in particular, one of the things that I think a lot about is that adversity breeds opportunity if we let it. And so I think for the folks who are in my clinical care, and even for myself, is thinking about, I mean, the first thing is acknowledging we're in unprecedented times, and I can't pretend otherwise. If we go on trying to pretend, we're going to keep fighting this wall and be continually frustrated. But to say that, you know, to feel stressed, to feel overwhelmed, to feel lost, all of that is normal and typical. Given that, what can I do? Where can I find pockets of opportunity? And there's a lot of research, particularly on child rearing, and they talk about the difference between different kids. So there's the orchid and there's the dandelion. So for some folks who maybe have had an orchid, you kind of have to have the right amount of watering. You have to put an ice cube in there, but if you overwater, it's gone. There's a short period of time where it blooms. But after that, it's, you know, it just requires some real intentional care. Whereas dandelions, my daughter points them out all the time, they're everywhere. they're in the grass, they're coming out of the cracks in your street, they're coming from the parking lot. They find that pocket of sunlight wherever it is, they find that bit of water. The idea is that kids who are raised with and experience adversity can learn how to manage and deal with it. And so for a lot of my folks that I'm working with, specifically kids and parents, is to say, yes, this is unprecedented. Yes, this is difficult. However, this is going to, if we let it, allow us to learn something and grow from it as well. And so I think the idea of focusing in on what can I control, how can I how can I learn from this, and how can I build skills around it, is really important. And just to know that this is, you don't need the perfect circumstances to be able to build and grow. And I think I've seen that even in my own life when you're talking to a 4-year-old about why they can't have a play date or why they have to wear a mask. Even on the most simplistic level, I have to keep telling myself, yes, this is hard for her, but I know from this, she's going to be stronger. And so I think that would be one of the main points of feedback that I would give folks, and then I continually tell myself, how can I use this as an opportunity and grow and focus in on the things that I can control.
That's great. I already feel better, Allie. That's amazing, Alexandra.
That would be $125.
Okay. The check's in the mail. All right. Before we move on to maybe reminiscing a little bit about some of our Georgetown memories, and certainly for those of you on here, those of alumni or former players that may have some, or former Hoyas about the program, I have one write-in question that was sent in ahead of time that I thought was an excellent question, and I think we might stump Dave on it, so I think it'll be good. It says, Dave, having just showcased some of our talented Hoyas in the pros, we're seeing more and more big name American women stars headed to Europe. Most recently, Sam Mewis and Rose Lavelle to Man City, Tobin Heath and Kristen Press to Man U, and Alex Morgan to Spurs. What kind of impact do you believe the continued growth of the professional women's game, particularly abroad, will have on the NCAA landscape? This person is clearly a scholar. That was a well thought out question.
I mean, it's always a good thing when there's opportunities for girls to continue playing, and for girls that can go on as young women and make soccer their career. I can speak as a coach. I don't look at going to work as my job. I'm very fortunate in that I love what I do, and I've managed to sucker somebody into paying me to do it. And I think when it gets to playing, I think it's probably the same way. So I think it's wonderful that these girls have opportunities to continue to play after college, whether it be here in the NWSL or also in the European League. Specifically, the reason why there was a shift this year is that with the COVID pandemic here in the US, and with there being so many restrictions on what's possible, the NWSL put together the Challenge Cup out in Utah, and there really wasn't much of a plan for life after that, because there was a lot of skepticism that they could pull off a perfect bubble. And the funny thing is, they did it better than anybody. They've done it better than the NFL. They've done it better than the NHL. They've done it better than the NBA. They've done it better than MLS. They put together a perfect event. But once it ended, a lot of the girls, especially the full national team players, are looking for opportunities to stay sharp as they get ready for the Olympics next summer, hopefully in Tokyo. So I wasn't surprised you saw a lot of loan arrangements for players that could go over and play in the English League right now, which is emerging. So it's been huge for that, and that it's given a lot of the senior U.S. national team players a good competitive environment to play in. My only fear or reservation now is that it's allowing a rival league a chance to shine and to pick up a little bit of momentum. The NWSL was the best women's league in the world, And I think by allowing your best players, even on loan, to go and make one of your opponents better, I hope it hasn't weakened the NWSL for when the season starts again for them in kind of February, March. So it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of catch-22. Very deep question, by the way. I got a headache trying to answer that.
Yeah, I believe I just got word that was from Dmitry Zakharov. Bob, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Thank you. That was a great question. I think we're gonna skip ahead a little bit to any soccer memories that you, Dave, or Alexandra, or if there's anyone else want to share on this call. Now would be a great time to think about those things. As Dave mentioned, maybe nothing specific to Alexandra that we don't want recorded. I know there's probably many. I'm sure there's many.
We have tons, and actually, I remember a couple of years ago as we were getting ready for our 25th year celebration, we had worked on something like our top 10 kind of soccer moments leading into that. But we've had so many even since. It's probably something I need to revisit. But there's some fantastic memories. One of the games that Ali talked about was a game we played against Notre Dame. And it must have been, Ali, probably about 2006, maybe 2005? Yeah, and
that sounds about right.
And we had Notre Dame at home, and I think they were number 1 or number 2 in the country at the time. And we beat them up on Shaw Field 4-3. And it was just an incredible game. Ali did a miserable job filming. But that was something where, like, for the first time to beat a ranked, nationally prominent program like them. I know, I think Ed Shaw is on here as well. I know Ed was super happy. Him and Irene were so proud of that. And then moving right along, I mean, there's been so many. But none better than the other, to be honest. That team they were the best version of themselves. And I think that team was a team that finished up 9-1 on the regular season, finished 5th in a very strong Big East division of 10 or 12 teams at the time. We were a non-scholarship sport at the time. And I just remember we won the last 3 games of the season to have our first kind of above 500 record in a very strong Big East. I was so proud of that team that finished 9-1. Because, again, that was a group that achieved everything they could. And it's funny, that's the one thing that we strive for is, I always tell them, I just want you to be the best version of yourselves. And if that means we go 4-16, but that's as good as we can do, I can live with that. And if that means we go, 21-1, it's just what we stress. And it's kind of our mentality and practice every day is, let's just get better today. Let's get better today and see where it takes us. And then we'll keep score at the end of the season when it's all over. And I think it's something that, like I said, there's been so many great memories and so many great examples of a team fulfilling its maximum potential. And that means as much as winning a Big East championship or going to a college cup.
Alexandra, did you have anything beyond what you've already shared?
Well, Dave used to say this every preseason. He say, one day you're going to miss doing these fitness tests and all this. I was like, there's no way I'm going to miss this. Never. But I was thinking that yesterday. I'm 7 months pregnant and just waddling around. And I miss the intensity, just being out there and giving 120%, being just holed up with all of your friends, being exhausted. So I have to say there's some truth to that, Dave. And you're probably surprised to hear that from me, but I miss preseason and all the fitness, believe it or not, all of it. I miss it.
Could you imagine if you had to listen to me on everything else I told you as well? Man, we'd be unbeatable.
Oh man, those were great. Alexander, we're going to stay with you and let you talk for a bit. You gave us some great advice in terms of mental health for our student athletes. What advice or wisdom might you have for our current athletes? Maybe if, we were, like you were talking about, with your experience as far as making the most of it and appreciating what you have and those types of things. Do you have any further advice for our student athletes as they go through their 4 years at Georgetown that you would like to touch on?
Sure. I mean, I think some of it is probably going to be quite natural at this point. I imagine they're just itching and ready to start playing. So in terms of making the most of their time, especially their playing time, I imagine some of that's going to come quite organically because so much has been taken away from them. So I think that's part of the opportunity piece in this whole COVID madness. I say also, like, being at Georgetown and getting an education there is, I mean, it's a privilege. The folks who I'm listening to now, as I'm listening to the radio or as I'm going to conferences and thought leaders, are my professors, are people who I got to see every day and got to read. And so I would say just take advantage of those opportunities because, once folks on this call know, once you get into working world, you don't have the same luxury to just read for enlightenment and to be a better person as well. I think taking the Jesuit motto and values really seriously in terms of service and care for the whole person and being sure to be in this time, I think it can be easy to get in and be thoughtful about just yourself and what you're going through, but really to be like, okay, how's my teammate? How are my friends? How are my grandparents? And using this time to really think about just your community around you, especially those who are most vulnerable and maybe who could really use your optimism or even just a listening ear. So those would be some things that I'd recommend for students, especially in this current climate as well. And have fun. I know it's hard, but have fun. Enjoy it. You want to leave Georgetown saying, like, these were some of the most enjoyable, fun, carefree years. And so, fun's going to probably look different for you, especially as you start your time, but enjoy it and don't make apologies for that. This time should be really enjoyable for you to learn and grow. And so I just hope for all the student athletes that they both find success on the field and off, but also enjoy it while they're there at Georgetown. It's a really great place.
Great. And Alexandra, did you have any questions for Dave or for the program that you wanted us to address while we have some of our noted alumni on the call?
Yes. So for alumni like myself, what can we do to support the program? Are there specific ways that we can continue investing or supporting you all?
Well, I think the most important thing is to stay involved and to, stay updated with kind of how we're doing. I think the most important thing is to have our alums proud of the program. And I feel, as we kind of go through it, we're always looking to improve things and make things better. And we've always talked about this. I mean, Ali alluded earlier on to, equipment and equipment issues and stuff. And she'll be the first to tell you, our first couple of years, we were going with old men's uniforms, which weren't entirely flattering for anybody. And I look at where we are now, and you look at, the wonderful arrangement we have with Nike through the university. And we've come so far in providing so much to these guys in terms of equipment, in terms of how we travel, our wonderful Georgetown buses, first-class hotels. I look at the incredible improvements to facilities, the Thompson Center, our Ed and Irene Shaw locker rooms. It's funny, we're in a dead period right now when it comes to recruiting. So we're not allowed to have recruits on campus. So one of our top recruits just emailed me the other day or texted me and said, hey, I've looked at a lot of your stuff online, but I can't see anything about your locker room. And I was like, oh, sugar was probably the word I didn't use. So I texted one of our facilities guys who's on. I said, do me a favor, run down to the locker room and get me a couple of photographs of our locker room. And while I was texting with the recruit, she said, how is your locker room? Do you keep it hidden so recruits don't see it? And I will say that's what we used to do with our old locker room. We never seemed to, the tour never seemed to take us over there. I said, no, I said, we probably have the nicest locker room in the country. And she's like, I don't believe you. And so Jason sends me the photographs, and I texted off 4 photographs of the locker room, and the text just came back, sheesh, y'all have the best locker room I've ever seen. She's from the South, so y'all is a word they use down there. But she was very impressed with our locker room. So, things like that, the upgrades to our facilities, to our field. If you look behind Naomi there, you can see Shaw Field. We've done so much with it now, even in the last couple of years. Right now, it looks as green and plush as it's ever looked. I want to just go up and roll around on it myself. So there are things that are important to us. But in terms of, okay, what else can we do to get better? There's a couple of priorities we are looking for. We want to bring in a full-time director of operations, which will take a lot of the administrative responsibilities away from the staff and enable us to focus more on coaching and development and improving the players. We still want to try and get a full-time sports performance coach. We have someone that works in the athletic department, and we share with another sport. But it's challenging if we want to take her on the road with us in terms of pre-game warm-up, in terms of cool-down. So that's a position that we're trying to get squared away, so we have a little bit more ownership of her. We talked a little bit earlier on about players playing abroad and players playing in the league here. One of the things that's very common on the men's side is because the nature of the leagues are these leagues and these players all get drafted and sign contracts in spring, we need to try and get our players who are chasing this dream the opportunity to graduate in 3.5 years, which means we need some help with summer classes. And it's been hard for me to try and find, I have to go scrape and fight with Dan O'Neill to try to get some money for summer classes for these kids. And it's something that we're talking about, setting up a separate fund to try and help summer classes. And then really just our annual giving all helps us and helps the athletic department as well. So they're the things that I feel that we need the most help with currently.
Okay, that's great. Dan, did you have anything that you wanted to speak to tonight?
Yeah, hello everyone. Dave, that was a great summary, and thanks to everyone for joining. I guess the only things I would add to that, I think it'd be good for everyone to know that, in the last few years, we've added a nutritionist. Dave mentioned our sports psych person. And then we are right now in the process. About a year ago, we started a diversity, equity, equality, and inclusion committee. And we will be hiring someone. The university is on a freeze, but we had a generous person endow the position. So our SWA Sharon, she's looking through the resumes now. We're going to have someone on staff soon to fill that slot. That was something that was in our 10-year plan that we put together 3 years ago. And I will say that we've been still pushing on all of those items as we go through COVID and other things, and I'm really proud to tell you all that. So Dave, thanks for the summary, and I appreciate everyone being on tonight.
Okay, great. It looks like we're butting up on our time here. So I think we're gonna wrap up here unless anyone has any last minute questions. and I'm going to let Dave have the final word, which is probably a dangerous thing unless Alexander has anything she wanted to add as well. Okay, Dave, you get the final word. You're still on mute.
Okay, I was better on mute, wasn't I? So listen, again, I really appreciate everybody taking the time to check in with us. I hope everybody is safe and well. I hope everyone's families are all safe and well. And, you know, I'll finish by saying this, and it's something that I said to the girls when they started to really kind of get down about what we were facing in the world of soccer. I told them, I said, listen, soccer is one of the really, really important, unimportant things. And the more important thing is family and friends, and everything else after that is a bonus. So don't be afraid to tell your loved ones how special they are to you. And we hope to see everybody at some point soon, sooner rather than later, up on our wonderful Shaw Field. So thanks again for your time, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.